Darth, Theorist, rise.
What if Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka crash landed on Earth during World War I? Let's explore the depths of it in the video. The ship screams through Earth's atmosphere, hull blazing white. Inside, alarm shriek, sparks cascade from overhead panels. The cockpit shudders so violently the bulkhead groans.
Hold on!
The Twilight slams into farmland outside Washington D.C. Soil erupts in a wave. Fence posts snap like kindling. The ship carves a trench through open pasture before grinding to a halt, nose buried in Virginia clay. Silence. Obi-Wan opens his eyes, checks himself. Nothing broken. He glances back.
Ahsoka.
Alive? Barely.
Anakin unbuckles and moves to the console. Smoke pours from shattered panels. He pulls an access hatch free, peers inside, and slams his fist against the bulkhead.
Hyperdrive's gone. Completely fused.
The ship itself?
Hull's intact. Engines are functional, but without the hyperdrive, we're stranded in whatever system this is.
R2-D2 beeps urgently from the sensor station.
Oh my. R2 says we have company approaching. Several dozen individuals on a horseback and on foot, carrying primitive projectile weapons.
Through the viewport, a column of soldiers crests the nearest hill. Cavalry first, horses stampeding nervously, infantry behind them, bolt-action rifles shouldered. An officer on horseback waves them into a perimeter. Their uniforms are olive, drab, wide-brimmed campaign hats pulled low. Just men, horses, and guns.
That's their military?
It appears so. Primitive, but organized.
Well, let's go introduce ourselves.
They lower the ramp. The three Jedi step out, hands raised and visible. The soldiers tense. Rifles swing toward them. Horses rear.
Halt! Identify yourselves immediately. We mean you no harm. Our vessel suffered a malfunction, and we were forced to land here. We are peaceful travelers.
A sergeant squints at their belts.
Sir, they're carrying something on their hips. Remove them, slowly.
The soldiers advance, bayonets fixed. The Jedi reach for their lightsabers instinctively as the ring tightens. 3 blades ignite, blue, green. The snap hiss cuts through the morning air. Horses bolt, soldiers stumble backward. One private drops his rifle.
Fire!
Wait, we come in peace.
Rifles crack, dozens of them. The Jedi swing to deflect, muscle memory taking over from thousands of blaster bolt deflections. The first bullets hit their plasma blades and vaporize on contact. Superheated metal fragments spray outward. Obi-Wan flinches as burning shrapnel peppers his forearm and chest. Ahsoka hisses in pain, hot fragments catching her shoulder and Leku.
These are solid projectiles. The blades are turning them into shrapnel.
Anakin reacts instantly. He shifts his stance, extends his free hand, and reaches into the Force. The next volley of bullets slows mid-air, then stops entirely. Dozens of lead rounds hang suspended between soldiers and the Jedi, frozen in space like insects trapped in amber. The firing stops. The soldiers stare at their ammunition floating motionless in the air. Anakin opens his hand. The bullets drop into the dirt like hailstones. Ahsoka follows his lead. She sheathes one lightsaber and raises her palm. The next, scattered shots that crack toward her curve away mid-flight, embedding in the ground 10 feet to either side. The bullets bend around her like water around a stone. Obi-Wan clips his saber to his belt entirely. He extends both hands and pushes. A wave of telekinetic force rolls outward, gentle but firm. Every rifle in the front rank wrenches upward, barrels pointing skyward. The soldiers clutch at their weapons, unable to bring them down.
Enough!
He releases. The rifle drops back into their owner's hands. No one fires again. The officer's horse has thrown him. He picks himself up from the mud, staring at the 3 figures who just stopped bullets with their minds. Anakin deactivates his lightsaber, steps forward with his arms spread wide. He opens his mouth, pauses, then turns to Obi-Wan.
What's the local custom? How do you greet a planetary leader here?
I imagined you walk up and speak plainly, Anakin, without the theatrics.
Where's the fun in that?
He turns back to the officer, straightens up, clasps his hands behind his back in his best impression of a diplomat.
Good morning, sir. My name is Anakin Skywalker. These are my colleagues. We'd very much like to speak with whoever leads your government. It's rather urgent.
That's the most restrained I've ever seen him.
Give it time.
The White House, April 1917. President Woodrow Wilson sits behind his desk, back straight, wire-rimmed spectacles perched on his nose. He studies the 3 visitors with the careful, measured grace of an academic evaluating a thesis. Everything about him radiates precision and moral seriousness. Secret Service agents stand rigid at the doors.
An interstellar vessel? Weapons made of contained plasma? Telekinetic abilities you attribute to an energy field called the Force? And you traveled here from another galaxy entirely?
That is correct, Mr. President. We're en route from a diplomatic mission in our own conflict, the Clone Wars, when our hyperdrive failed. We never intended to arrive on your world. Wilson studies them a moment longer, then removes his spectacles, cleans them with a cloth, replaces them.
I'm a man of science, General Kenobi. What you've described defies everything I understand about the physical universe, and yet my officers tell me you stopped bullets in the air with a wave of your hand. I saw the photographs. I choose to believe the evidence.
Mr. President, we only want to repair our ship and leave. We have our own war to get back to.
Your own war? Yes. Tell me about it.
Obi-Wan explains. The Galactic Republic, the Separatist movement, Count Dooku's betrayal, the clone army fighting a droid army across thousands of star systems. Wilson listens without interruption, fingers steepled beneath his chin.
Sounds remarkably familiar. Perhaps all civilizations are destined to destroy themselves with the same patterns.
He stands, moves to a map of the world mounted on the wall. His hand traces Europe.
3 years ago, an Archduke was assassinated in a city most Americans couldn't find on a map. Sarajevo. Within 6 weeks, the entire continent was at war. Germany and Austria-Hungary on one side, Britain, France, and Russia on the other. A web of alliances, treaties, and imperial pride turned one bullet into a global catastrophe.
He taps the Western Front.
This line from the English Channel to the Swiss border is 400 miles of trenches. Millions of men live in those ditches. They advance 100 yards, lose 10,000 soldiers, and then the other side takes it back the next week. It has been this way for 3 years. The ground itself is poisoned. They use chemical weapons now. Chlorine gas, phosgene. They burn each other's lungs out and call it strategy.
He turns back to them.
I kept this nation out of the war for 3 years. I campaigned on neutrality. It kept us out of the war. That was the slogan that re-elected me. But Germany is pushed too far.
He slides a document across the desk, a decoded telegram.
They're calling this the Zimmerman Note. Intercepted by British intelligence and shared with us. Germany's foreign secretary sent a secret message to Mexico, proposing a military alliance. If Mexico declared war on the United States, German promised to help them reclaim Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona.
Anakin picks up the telegram, reads it. His jaw tightens.
They tried to turn your neighbor against you.
And they began sinking our merchant ships with submarines. American civilians drowning in the Atlantic. Congress voted to declare war 6 days ago. We are now in this fight. But I have no interest in conquering anyone. I want to end this war and build something permanent. A League of Nations. Every country bound by agreement to resolve disputes through negotiation. No more secret alliances. No more wars started by telegram. Collective security. Permanent peace.
Obi-Wan's expression shifts, something close to admiration.
That sounds remarkably like the Galactic Senate at its best, Mr. President. A noble vision. Yeah, but the Senate at its best still couldn't prevent the Clone Wars.
Well, that may be, but the attempt matters. Here is my proposal. Help me end this war as quickly as possible. With your abilities, your tactical knowledge, your experience with your own conflict, you could save tens of thousands of American lives. In return, I will commit every resource this nation has to repairing your vessel.
We accept. But first, Mr. President, I think we need to understand what we're dealing with. We should know this war for ourselves. Wilson nods slowly.
Prepare yourselves. What you'll find in France is beyond anything I can describe with words.
The Western Front. Allied lines. April 1917. The twilight descends through low clouds over northern France, cloaked, silent. Below, the landscape unfolds like a wound. From altitude, the Jedi see it. The earth is scarred from horizon to horizon. Brown, cratered, lifeless terrain stretching in both directions. No trees, no buildings, no color. Just mud, wire, and the jagged lines of trenches cutting across the land like surgical incisions.
What happened to the ground?
3 years of continuous artillery bombardment. The surface has been churned so many times the topsoil is gone. Nothing grows. They land behind Allied lines and disembark. The smell hits first. Rot, chemicals, human waste. Death layered on death, soaked into the mud itself. A young American lieutenant escorts them through the communications trenches. The walls are shored up with timber and sandbags. Water stands ankle deep. Rats scatter at their approach. The soldiers they pass look hollow, muddied uniforms, 1,000-yard stares. Some sit in caved-out alcoves, cleaning rifles with everlasting stains of blood from battle. Others sleep standing up, propped against the trench walls. One man rocks back and forth, hands over his ears, though no shells are falling.
What's wrong with him?
Shell shock, ma'am. The bombardments break something inside. We don't have treatment. Some of them come back. Most don't.
They reach the fire trench, forwardmost position. Through periscopes, they see no man's land, 200 yards of cratered earth, tangled with rusted barbed wire, littered with the unrecovered dead. Bodies in various states of decay lie where they fell. Some have been there for months.
In the Clone Wars, we at least retrieve our fallen. This is...
His voice trails off. There's no comparison. A distant whistle pierces the air, then another. The lieutenant's face changes.
Gas! Gas! Get your masks on!
Chaos erupts. Soldiers scramble for gas masks, fumble with straps and rubber seals. A yellow-green cloud rolls across no man's land, pushed by the wind. Chlorine. Heavier than air, it pours into the trenches like liquid, filling the lower points first. Men who are too slow choke. They claw at their throats, eyes streaming, lungs filled with fluid. The sound is worse than any battle cry, wet, gurgling screams. Obi-Wan moves without thinking. He plants both feet, extends his hands, and pushes. The forest rolls outward in a wave, catching the chlorine cloud like a sail catching wind. The green wall of gas slows, stops. The soldiers stare as the poison hangs in the air, motionless, defying every law of physics they know.
Anakin, help me redirect it.
Anakin steps beside him. Together they push. The cloud reverses direction, rolling back across no man's land, dissipating upward as it loses density. The wind carries the remnants away. The trench falls silent. Soldiers pull their masks off, gasping, staring at the two figures who just pushed poison gas backward with their bare hands. The sergeant drops to his knees and crosses himself, thanking God. Ahsoka kneels beside a soldier who inhaled too much before the reversal. His breathing is ragged, shallow, drowning. She places her hands on his chest, closes her eyes, reaches into the Force. She can feel his lungs, the fluid accumulating, the tissue burning. She can't heal him. The Force isn't medicine, but she can slow his heart rate, reduce the shock response, and ease the inflammation just enough to buy time.
He needs treatment. Now. I've stabilized him, but it's only temporary.
The medic stares at her hands on the soldier's chest, then nods and takes over. Obi-Wan stands at the edge of the trench, looking out at the devastation. His face is stone.
This is what happens when war has no purpose, no objective. Just two sides grinding each other into dust because no one has the courage to stop.
It's worse than the Clone Wars, Master. At least we fight droids on the other side. These are all people, both sides, killing each other over 100 yards of mud.
We need to end this. Whatever it takes.
Berlin, the Imperial Palace, 1 week later. The twilight hovers above Stachlos, cloaked. The city below is grim. Rations are scarce. The British naval blockade has been strangling Germany for 3 years. Civilians move through the streets with the hunched, hurried gait of the hungry. R2 cuts through a window. Obi-Wan lifts the glass free. Anakin mind tricks the guards, silent, professional. Kaiser Wilhelm II sits in a study lined with military maps. He is not what they expected. The Kaiser is smaller than his portraits suggest. His left arm, withered from birth, is tucked against his body. His famous upturned mustache droops. He looks exhausted, afraid. When they approach, he startles, reaches for a pistol on his desk. Anakin catches it with the Force, lifts it gently from his hand, sets it on a shelf.
We're here to talk, Your Majesty.
That's all.
C-3PO begins to speak in German so the Kaiser will understand.
Please accept this, Your Highness. It will allow you to understand us.
C-3PO hands him an earpiece. The Kaiser accepts it with trembling hands.
Who are you? How did you get past my guards? Your Majesty, my name is Obi-Wan Kenobi. We've come to ask you to consider ending this war, seeking an armistice. Every day it continues, thousands more die on both sides. We've been on the front lines. We've seen what your soldiers are going through.
You think I wanted this? Any of this?
He stands, paces at the window.
A Serbian anarchist murdered my ally's heir, Francis Ferdinand. Austria demanded justice. Serbia refused. Russia mobilized to protect Serbia. We mobilized to protect Austria. France mobilized to protect Russia. Britain mobilized to protect France. and suddenly the entire world was on fire because of one bullet fired by one man in one city I've never visited. I sent telegrams to my cousin Nicholas, Tsar of Russia. We are family. Did you know that? The rulers of Europe are almost all related by blood. I begged him to stand down. He begged me. We called each other Willie and Nicky in our letters, like schoolboys. It made no difference. The generals had their war plans. The alliances had their obligations. The machine started, and no one could stop it. Then stop it now, Your Majesty. You are the Kaiser. Am I? Hindenburg and Ludendorff run this war. They run this country. I sign the papers and they put it in front of me. I order a ceasefire, and they would simply go over my head to the general staff. If I pushed harder, they would remove me and install my son, who would sign whatever they asked.
He sinks into his chair.
I am Kaiser of the German Empire, and I am the most powerless man in Germany.
The Jedi exchange glances. Obi-Wan feels it in the Force, the truth of it. This man is a figurehead, a prisoner in his own palace.
Sheesh. Are all civilizations the same? Is anyone spared from the corruption?
Obi-Wan nods slowly. A chill runs through him.
Your Majesty, thank you for your honesty. We understand your position. If you truly want peace, don't come to me. Go to Hindenburg. Go to Ludendorff. They're the ones who decide whether men live or die.
But they will never agree. The war has become its own justification. It continues because stopping it would mean admitting it was pointless, and no general would admit that while his men are still dying. They leave Berlin in silence. In the cockpit, Anakin stares at the controls.
There's no one to negotiate with. The man in charge isn't in charge. The men in charge can't stop, and the people dying have no say at all.
It's a machine, Anakin. The war feeds itself. Every death justifies the next. Every sacrifice demands more sacrifice to give it meaning.
Sounds exactly like the Clone Wars.
Yes, it does.
Meanwhile, C-3PO intercepts fragmented wireless transmissions. R2 processes them, beeping rapidly.
Oh dear. It seems the Russian Empire is collapsing. There's been a revolution. The Tsar has been deposed. A man named Lenin is proposing to withdraw Russia from the war entirely.
Isn't that good? One less country fighting?
Perhaps, but it means Germany can move every soldier from the Eastern Front to the West. The war is about to get worse before it gets better.
So what do we do?
What we always do. We fight. We protect who we can, and we try to create the conditions for peace, even if we can't guarantee it. But we fight smart. We don't feed this machine. We break it.
Washington, D.C., the White House, the next day. They report back to Wilson. The Kaiser is powerless. The German military runs the war, and Russia pulling out means Germany is about to get stronger on the Western Front. Diplomacy will only work from a position of overwhelming strength. Wilson is disappointed, but resolute.
Then we give them no choice. General John Pershing is assembling the American Expeditionary Force. 2 million men will ship to France over the next year, but they're untested. Many have never held a rifle. The European allies want to feed them into the existing trench system as replacements. I refuse. American soldiers will fight as American units, under American command.
He looks at each Jedi.
Help General Pershing prepare them. Train them. Lead them. The faster we break through, the sooner we reach the negotiating table. And at that table, I intend to build a peace that lasts forever.
The Jedi accept. 6 months later, France, 1918. The months reshape everything. Anakin buries himself in the machine of war. Tanks fascinate him most. The Mark IV and French Renault FT are crude, barely functional, prone to mechanical failure and suffocating heat, but Anakin sees what they could be. He works with army engineers to reinforce transmissions, improve cooling systems, and design modular track links that can be replaced in the field. Breakdowns that sideline tanks for weeks become 2-hour repairs. But his real contribution is doctrine. The generals treat tanks as infantry support, plotting ahead of foot soldiers. Anakin argues for concentration, mass the army, punch through at a single point, exploit the breach with speed. Don't speed the tanks across the whole line. Hit one spot with everything you have. He applies the same thinking to aircraft. The Spad biplanes and Sopwith camels are used for scouting and dogfighting. Anakin trains pilots to strafe trenches, bomb supply depots, and coordinate with ground advances. Close air support, a concept 20 years ahead of its time, and he flies with them. Anakin in an open cockpit biplane, scarf trailing, grinning like a madman. The other pilots worship him. He can feel turbulence before it hits, sense enemy aircraft before they appear, pull maneuvers that should tear the wings off. The French ace René Fonck calls him the best natural pilot he's ever seen. Anakin just shrugs.
The Force helps.
Obi-Wan takes a different path. He becomes Pershing's chief strategic advisor, and through Pershing, the de facto architect of the American approach to the war. The European generals wanted attrition, throw men into lines until the line breaks. Obi-Wan refuses. He's seen what attrition warfare does. The Clone Wars taught him that grinding your forces down for marginal gains is how you lose a war slowly, enough that no one notices until it's too late. Instead, he develops a doctrine of coordinated assault, artillery barrages that creep forward in precise increments, forcing the enemy to stay in their bunkers while infantry advances just behind the curtain of explosions. Tanks concentrated at weak points, aircraft neutralizing artillery positions before the attack begins, engineers forward with the first wave, bridging trenches and cutting wires. He teaches American officers to think in terms of tempo, speed, momentum, keeping the enemy reacting, never letting them set, never letting them dig in. Pershing listens. The other Allied commanders are skeptical, set in the patterns of 3 years of strategic war, but Pershing trusts Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan trusts the Force. And Ahsoka goes to the soldiers. She trains infantry in close quarters combat, trench raiding, and survival under bombardment, but she finds herself drawn to the sharpest edge she can find, the 5th and 6th Marine regiments, volunteers, every one of them. Men who'd signed up to fight before America even entered the war. They were leaner, meaner, and more aggressive than the regular Army doughboys, and they knew it. The Marines had a culture Ahsoka recognized, pride, discipline, an almost fanatical refusal to retreat. They remind her of the 501st back home, Anakin's clones, the best of the best, and are aware of it to a fault. She trained them in trench training, night operations, close-quarter combats in spaces so tight a rifle was useless. She taught them to move in silence through no man's land, to navigate by sound and instinct, to clear a dugout with nothing but a knife, a grenade, in controlled violence. She taught them to fight like her, fast, vicious, without hesitation. The Marines took to it like they'd been waiting for exactly this kind of war. She ran raids with them, led from the front, caught bullets with the Force when they couldn't dodge fast enough. Her lightsaber becomes their signal in the dark, twin blue and green lights that meant, follow me, stay close, we're going in. After one raid that left a German company command post gutted in under 4 minutes, Gunnery Sergeant Dan Daly, a man who already held 2 medals of honor and feared nothing on earth, sat beside her in the trench, cleaning blood off his bayonet.
Ma'am, I've been in every hellhole the Corps has sent me to. Philippines, China, Haiti, but I've never seen anyone fight the way you do.
Is that a compliment?
It's the truth. The boys would follow you into the mouth of hell itself.
That's good, because that's exactly where we're headed.
Belleau Wood, June 1918. The proving ground came sooner than expected. The Germans had punched through the French line and were driving toward Paris. The French were retreating. A French officer told the Marines to fall back with them. Captain Lloyd Williams of the 5th Marines gave the response that became legend.
Retreat? Hell, we just got here.
Ahsoka was with them when they charged into the forest. Belleau Wood was a nightmare. Dense trees, rocky terrain, German machine gun nests dug into every ridge and ravine. The kind of ground where tanks couldn't go and artillery couldn't see. Perfect for Marines. Perfect for a Jedi. The fighting lasted 3 weeks. Tree to tree, hand to hand. Ahsoka led the night raids into the heart of German positions, her lightsabers carved through timber breastworks and barbed wire. The Force let her sense ambushes before they sprang, feel the presence of snipers before they fired. During one assault, a German heavy machine gun pinned an entire company in a ravine, men dying by the minute. No way forward, no way back. Ahsoka sprinted straight at the position. Bullets tore through the air around her. She extended both hands, and every round in the gun's ammunition belt ripped free and scattered like seeds in the wind. The gun fell silent. The Marine surged forward. In another engagement, 3 machine gun nests opened up simultaneously from concealed positions. Crossfire. The Marines dove for cover. Ahsoka stepped into the open, raised both hands, and caught the incoming rounds mid-flight. Hundreds of bullets from 3 directions froze in the air around her. She held them for 3 seconds, then flicked her wrists, sending them sideways into the tree trunks. The German crews abandoned their positions and ran. The Germans started calling the Marines to Fel Huden, devil dogs. They earned the name in Belleau Wood and carried it like a badge. By the time the forest was cleared, the Marines had taken over 3,000 casualties, much less than they should have thanks to Ahsoka's leadership. But the German advance on Paris was broken, and every army on the Western Front knew the Americans were no longer green. The storm was coming. Meuse-Argonne offensive. September 26, 1918. 47 divisions, 1.2 million American soldiers, the largest operation in United States military history. The Argonne Forest, dense, hilly, laced with German fortifications built over 3 years, concrete bunkers, interlocking machine gun positions, artillery pre-registered on every approach. The Germans call it impenetrable. 0200 hours, Sector 7. Darkness. Ahsoka leads the Marines through no man's land in absolute silence. The only light comes from distant star shells bursting over the sector. The men move in single file, stepping exactly where Ahsoka steps. She navigates by the Force, sensing tripwires, mines, sentries. Their objective, a German artillery position shelling the main assault corridor. 6 heavy guns that will tear apart Anakin's advance if they still fire at dawn. They reach the wire. Ahsoka ignites one lightsaber, keeping the blade low. The green plasma cuts through the concertina like a cobweb. She carves a path wide enough for the squad. They slip through. R2-D2 rolls behind them, projecting a holographic map showing enemy positions in faint blue light. The first sentry never sees Ahsoka. She uses the Force to press against his mind.
You're tired. You're going to sit down and close your eyes.
The sentry yawns, sits, his chin drops to his chest. They bypass 2 more sentries the same way and reach the gun emplacement. 6 howitzers are arranged in a semicircle, protected by sandbags and timber revetments. 40-odd crew members sleeping in dugouts nearby. A single watch officer paces between the guns. Ahsoka signals. The Marines fan out. A corporal moves to the nearest gun. He pulls the breech block, removes it, tosses it into the darkness. Useless. The other squads do the same, gun after gun, disabled without a shot fired. Then, a dog barks. A German shepherd, tied outside a dugout, catches their scent. Its barking wakes the watch officer, who spins toward the guns and sees a shadowy figure moving among them. He shouts, alarm. Soldiers pour from the dugouts, rifles cracking in the darkness. Muzzle flashes strobe the scene. Ahsoka ignites both lightsabers. In the strobing chaos, her green blades leave after images as she moves. She steps in front of her Marines and raises her hands. A volley of rifle fire converges on her position. She catches every bullet with the Force. 30 rounds hang suspended in a cloud around her, frozen mid-flight. The Germans stare at their ammunition floating in the air, illuminated by the glow of her lightsabers.
Surrender. Now.
They do. Daly looks at the frozen bullets slowly dropping to the earth as Ahsoka releases them.
Ma'am, I've followed you through hell and back, but I will never get used to that.
Kind of a cheat code, isn't it?
The guns are destroyed. The assault corridor is clear. By dawn, when Anakin's tanks roll forward, the shells that should have stopped them never fall. 0530 hours. The barrage. 3,000 American artillery pieces open fire simultaneously. The sound is beyond anything the Jedi have experienced. The ground shakes. The air itself reverberates. Shells scream overhead in continuous streams, impacting the German lines in geysers of earth and fire. Obi-Wan stands in the command post behind the lines. Maps spread before him. Field telephones buzzing. C-3PO relays reports.
Tell the commanders to begin the creeping barrage. 100 yards every 4 minutes. Infantry advances in 30 seconds.
Sir, the telephone lines to the 28th Division are severed.
Send runners. And tell General Cameron to use his reserve battalion to fill the gap on his left flank. The Germans will counterattack there first.
He closes his eyes, reaches into the Force, feels the battlefield. Thousands of lives, burning bright with fear and determination. The pulse of artillery, the surge of men moving forward. And ahead, the cold resolve of the German defenders.
Sir, reports indicate the 77th Division is cut off in the forest. Germans closing in from every direction. 500 men surrounded.
Send a runner to General Skywalker. Tell him to redirect reserve tanks to the forest edge. And get me an air squadron. I want eyes above that canopy.
Sir, tanks can't operate in Argonne. The trees.
Then we send the infantry with a rolling barrage along its axis. Plot the coordinates, and pray the telephone wires hold. May the Force be with them all.
0600 hours, Sector 2. Anakin charges through the shattered tree line at the head of a tank column. 6 Renault FTs grind through the mud beside him, their 37mm guns barking at German positions. Infantry follows in their tracks, using the tanks as cover. A machine gun nest opens from a concrete bunker 50 yards ahead. Bullets chew through the advancing soldiers. 3 men fall. Anakin extends his hands. He reaches through the Force, finds the machine gun's mechanism, and crushes it. The barrel crumples like paper. The firing pin folds in on itself. The weapon jams permanently. The German crew stares at their destroyed weapon in disbelief.
Keep moving. Don't stop.
Another bunker, and another. The German defense network is layered deep. Every position they clear reveals 2 more behind it. A German field gun fires point blank at the lead tank. Anakin feels the shell before he hears it. He throws out his hand. The shell stops mid-flight, 3 feet from the tank's hull. It hangs there, spinning. Anakin redirects it back toward the gun emplacement. The explosion silences the battery. The tank commander pops his hatch and stares at Anakin.
Did you just catch that?
Stay behind me.
They push deeper. The forest grows thicker. The fighting becomes close and brutal. Germans in fortified positions pour fire down narrowing clearings. Anakin's lightsaber becomes the weapon it was designed for. He moves through the undergrowth like a predator, cutting through barbed wire with single strokes, clearing paths for infantry to advance. A German counterattack materializes from the east, a full battalion supported by artillery. The shells begin falling among the advancing Americans. Men scatter, screams mix with explosions. Anakin plants his feet. He can feel each incoming shell through the force. Trajectories, velocities, impact points. He raises both hands. 3 artillery shells freeze in the air above the American position. Then 2 more. Then 4 more. 9 shells, hanging motionless, their momentum stolen by telekinetic force. Anakin roars with effort and hurls them sideways into the forest, away from his men. The detonations shatter trees and throw columns of earth skyward, but the American line holds. The German counterattack breaks against the American advance, but the cost is terrible. Bodies litter the forest floor. Medics work frantically. Stretcher bearers stumble through the mud carrying men who will never walk again. Anakin kneels beside a dying private, younger than Ahsoka. The boy clutches Anakin's hand.
Did we take it? We took it. You did good, son. You did really good.
The boy smiles. His grip loosens. His eyes glass over. Anakin stays there for a long moment. The force hums with absence. Another spark, extinguished. He stands. His eyes are wet. His jaw is set. Then the German armor arrives. A column of tanks. Not light vehicles Anakin's been facing. Heavy A7Vs. 20-ton steel boxes on tracks. Machine gun blazing from every port. 12 of them, grinding forward through the broken forest. Infantry behind them. The American Renaults are outgunned. One takes a direct hit and blows up. Crew's screaming. Another throws a track, trying to reverse. Anakin climbs out of his tank, stands in the open, ignites his lightsaber. Something builds in him, not calculation or strategy, but rage. He thinks of the trenches, the gas, the bodies rotting in no man's land for months because no one can reach them, the rats, the mud, the sheer grinding, senseless waste of it all. The young boy who just died holding his hand. 3 years, 8 million dead, for nothing, for lines on a map that never move. He raises both hands toward the advancing column and closes his fists. The lead A7V shudders, its armor plates buckle inward, crumpling like paper. The turret collapses, the treads snap. The entire 20-ton machine crashes into a ball of twisted steel. The second tank, same. The hull caves in from both sides. Rivets pop like gunshots. The machine folds. Third, fourth, fifth. Fists clenched, teeth bared, crushing each tank in sequence. His arms tremble with the effort, but he keeps going. The 6th tank's crew bails out before the hull collapses. They run. Anakin lets them. 7th, 8th. The remaining tanks turn, retreating, crews panicking. He grabs 2 at once. Both crumple. Metal screams. 10th, 11th, 12th. He reaches out further than he's ever reached. Each one folds like a tin can under a boot. When he's done, 12 A7V tanks lie in ruin. Compressed, mangled, unrecognizable. A graveyard of steel and silence. The battlefield goes quiet. The American soldiers behind him, the ones who've fought beside him for months, who've watched him deflect bullets and collapse bunkers, stare in absolute silence, some with awe, some with something else. Fear. One sergeant turns to the man beside him.
What in God's name is he?
No one answers. Anakin stands amongst the wreckage, breathing hard, his hands shaking. He looks down at them. Back at headquarters, Obi-Wan feels it through the Force, the surge of power, the fury behind it, and underneath something darker, something familiar. His blood runs cold.
Anakin, be careful.
A runner arrives, breathless.
Sir, General Skywalker has destroyed an entire German armored column. The path is clear. The advance can continue.
Yes, but at what cost?
On the battlefield, Anakin sheathes his lightsaber, turns to his men. His expression settles. The rage drains, but the soldiers don't look at him the same way anymore.
Mount up. We keep moving.
3 weeks later. The Argonne breaks. What took 47 days in real history takes 21 with the Jedi's intervention. The German line collapses in cascading failures as Obi-Wan's coordinated doctrine unravels their defensive network faster than they can reinforce. Anakin becomes a legend. Newsreels show a figure wreathed in blue light, reflecting bullets, crushing artillery pieces with a gesture, leading charges through impossible fire. The French call him L'Bleu, the Blue Angel. The Germans call him Diergeist, the Ghost. Germany requests an armistice. The Kaiser abdicates and flees to the Netherlands. The military collapses from within. Ludendorff resigns. Hindenburg seeks terms. The guns fall silent. Anakin stands in a trench near Sedan. American soldiers around him. The last shots echo and fade. Then nothing. For the first time in 4 years, the Western Front is quiet. Men emerge from their trenches. Some cheer. Some weep. Some just stand in the mud and stare at the sky as if seeing it for the first time. A French soldier and a German soldier meet in no man's land. They stare at each other. Then the Frenchman offers a cigarette. The German takes it. Ahsoka stands with the Marines. Daly's beside her. They've been in continuous combat for months. She looks at the men around her. Soldiers who volunteered for the hardest fighting the war had to offer, who followed a young woman with strange markings and glowing swords into Bellew Wood, into the Argonne, and into the worst of it. They'd follow her still. Daly sits against the tree, rifle across his knee, silent for the first time since she's known him. Ahsoka sits beside him. Neither speaks. There's nothing left to say. Obi-Wan stands alone at the edge of a shattered village. The armistice has come. The war is over, but the Force whispers to him. Darkness ahead. Not the darkness of war, something slower, more insidious. The peace will fail. He can feel it. Paris. The Palace of Versailles. January 1919. The Hall of Mirrors. The most opulent room on the planet, filled with the most powerful men on the planet, negotiating the future of the planet. Wilson arrives with his 14 points. Open diplomacy, freedom of the seas, self-determination for all peoples, and the crown jewel, the League of Nations. He brings the Jedi as advisors, but the other leaders want blood. The Prime Minister of France is a small man with a walrus mustache and eyes like flint. He has watched Germany invade France twice in his lifetime. 2 million Frenchmen are dead. He wants Germany dismantled. David Lloyd George, Prime Minister of Britain, smiles publicly and maneuvers privately. He needs Germany weakened enough to eliminate them as a naval and trade rival, but strong enough to serve as a buffer against Russian communism. Vittorio Orlando, Prime Minister of Italy, wants territory. The lands Italy was promised for entering the war. Nothing else matters to him. The negotiations are brutal. Wilson presents his vision. Clemenceau tears it apart.
14 points. God himself only needed 10 commandments. This isn't about punishment, Prime Minister. It's about preventing the next war. You Americans. You came to this war in its final year. You lost 100,000 men. France lost nearly 2 million. Do not lecture me about prevention. Prevention is making certain Germany can never do this again.
The Jedi watch from the sidelines. Obi-Wan sees the pattern immediately. He requests a private meeting with Clemenceau. The French Prime Minister receives him in a side chamber. 2 men, a bottle of wine that Clemenceau doesn't offer to share.
Prime Minister, I understand your grief, your nation's grief. But what you're proposing in that room will guarantee another war, larger and more terrible than this one.
You speak in hypotheticals, General.
I speak from experience. In my galaxy, a galactic republic stood for 1,000 years. When it began punishing member systems for dissent rather than addressing their grievances, those systems broke away. The result was a civil war that makes your conflict look like a border skirmish.
France is dead or not a skirmish.
I know, but if you crush Germany, strip them of their territory, burden them with impossible reparations, take away their military, their industry, their dignity, you will create a nation of 80 million people with nothing left to lose. And desperate people follow desperate leaders, the kind of leaders who promise restoration through conquest. You are planting the seeds of something far worse than what you just survived.
Clemenceau stares at him, takes a long drink of wine.
My people are asking me for justice.
Justice and vengeance wear similar faces, Prime Minister, but they lead to very different places.
Perhaps. But try telling that to a widow.
He sets the glass down.
I have heard your counsel, General, and I reject it.
Obi-Wan returns to Anakin and Ahsoka. His face says everything.
Let me talk to him.
It won't help. His mind is made up. He's wrong about the solution, but right about the pain. That's the worst kind of opponent. The one who has a legitimate grievance and a legitimate response.
Then we force it. We can make him agree. One gesture, one push. He signs whatever we want.
And then what? We mind trick every leader who disagrees? Force our will on this world because we believe we know better? The path has a name, Anakin. It's the dark side.
It's also the path that saves millions.
That's exactly what every tyrant says. Every Sith Lord, every dictator, and every system across the galaxy. I'm doing this for the greater good. The moment we diplomatically impose our will through the Force will become exactly what we fight against.
He's right, Master. My Marines followed me into Bellow Wood, into the Argonne, into the worst fighting this war had to offer. They earned everything they have. But I couldn't force-trick them into being brave. They chose that. People have to choose to be better. It can't be forced.
Anakin's fists unclench. Slowly, his shoulders sag.
Then we watch them build the next catastrophe with their own hands, and we do nothing.
We do what we can, which sometimes means accepting what we cannot change.
The Treaty of Versailles is signed on June 28, 1919. Germany accepts full responsibility for the war. Massive territorial losses, reparations so enormous they will take generations to pay. Their military gutted, their pride shattered. Wilson gets his League of Nations, but even as the ink dries, Obi-Wan senses it. The League is hollow. The United States will reject it. The very nation that proposed it will abandon it. As they leave the Hall of Mirrors, Obi-Wan pauses. He looks back at the table where the treaty lies.
We won the war, but we've lost the peace. This treaty is a death sentence, not for Germany, for the next generation. I can feel it in the Force. A darkness growing, feeding on resentment and humiliation. 20 years from now, this world will burn again.
Then everything we did is pointless.
No. Every life we saved mattered. Every soldier who went home to their family because of what we did, they mattered. But the larger tide, some things are beyond us, Anakin. Beyond even the Force. People must choose peace for themselves. It can't be forced upon them.
Ahsoka says nothing. She thinks of the Marines. The man who followed her through hell. Good men. Men who deserved a peace worth the sacrifice they made. She wonders if they'll get one. The Twilight. Repair bay. R2 beeps triumphantly.
Wonderful news. R2 says the hyperdrive is fully operational. The alloys from German Industrial worked. Combined with the electrical components R2 fabricated over the past year, we have produced a functional replacement.
Anakin runs diagnostics. Checks every system twice. Everything holds.
It works. We can go home.
Finally.
Wilson meets them one last time. He looks thinner than when they first met. Dark circles under his eyes. His hands tremble slightly. The strain of war, the peace conference, and the political battles at home are consuming him.
You've given this nation, this world, a chance. The League of Nations will ensure that this is the war to end all wars.
The Jedi say nothing. They can feel the fragility of his dream, but they don't say it. Some truths are too cruel to speak.
It has been an honor, Mr. President. I hope your vision comes to pass.
Wilson shakes each of their hands. He holds Obi-Wan's the longest.
If you ever find yourselves back on Earth, you'll always have friends here.
A brief ceremony. Wilson presents each of them with the Distinguished Service Medal. The era is more restrained, but a photographer captures the moment. 3 figures in American uniforms, standing with the president on the White House steps. Anakin looks at the photograph later on the ship.
Do you think anyone will remember us?
Does it matter?
No, I guess it doesn't.
The ship lifts off, Earth shrinking below them, blue, green, and beautiful. Scarred by its wars, its people are already trying to forget.
Do you really believe there'll be another war?
I'm certain of it.
Then maybe we should stay.
We have our own war, Anakin. Our own galaxy. The Clone Wars are still raging. The Council needs us.
Anakin stares at the stars. The parallels nod him. Leaders who can't stop a machine they started. A war sustained by its own momentum, peace negotiations corrupted by vengeance, a system that rewards escalation and punishes compromise. The Clone Wars. Palpatine. The thought surfaces before he can stop it. It's been growing since Berlin, since watching the Kaiser admit he was powerless in his own empire, since watching Clemenceau turn grief into a weapon, since watching Wilson's idealism shatter against the rocks of political reality. Who benefits from the Clone Wars continuing? Who profits from both sides bleeding each other dry?
Master, do you ever wonder who's really controlling the Clone Wars?
Dooku leads the Separatists. The Senate governs the Republic. The Jedi advise.
Dooku told you there was a Sith Lord controlling the Republic on Geonosis. You told me yourself.
Dooku says many things.
But what if he was right?
That is a dangerous question, Anakin.
It's the only question that matters.
Obi-Wan doesn't answer. Anakin engages the hyperdrive. The stars stretch. Reality bends. They're gone. The Twilight drops out of hyperspace, Coruscant spreads below them, the city planet glittering with trillions of lights. They land in the temple hangar, ramp lowers. The Jedi rush toward them. Master Windu, Master Yoda, others.
General Kenobi, General Skywalker, you've all been missing for 3 days. Explain.
3 days? We were gone for over a year.
Strange time is. Differently it flows in different places.
We have a great deal to report, Masters. We've witnessed things that have given us perspective on our own conflict.
The debrief can wait. Anakin excuses himself. He walks through the temple corridors, still wearing the faded remnants of his American uniform beneath his Jedi robes. He reaches Palpatine's office. The door is open. Warm light spills out. Palpatine sits at his desk, reading reports. He looks up, smiles warmly.
Anakin, my boy, I was worried about you. 3 days without word. I feared the worst.
Anakin steps inside, studies the Chancellor. The warm smile, the fatherly concern, the gentle voice that always knows exactly what to say. He sees the Kaiser, a figurehead controlled by forces he couldn't stop. He sees Clemenceau, turning suffering into a weapon, disguising revenge as justice. He sees Wilson, an idealist, blind to the knives being sharpened around him. And he sees something else, something that doesn't have a face from Earth, something that has been in front of him all along.
I'm fine, Chancellor. It was a long mission, that's all.
You seem different, troubled.
I learned something about how wars really work, about who benefits when they go on too long.
Palpatine's smile doesn't waver, but something shifts behind his eyes, imperceptible, a fraction of a degree.
And what did you learn?
Anakin holds his gaze.
The people who start wars are rarely the ones who fight them, and the ones who end them are rarely the ones who profit from the peace.
He turns to leave, stops at the door.
Chancellor, do you think the Clone Wars will ever end?
All wars end eventually, my dear boy.
That's not what I asked.
He leaves. Palpatine sits alone. The warmth drains from his face. He knows. His fingers tap the desk, once, twice. Then he reaches for his comm unit. That's our theory. Star Wars is a universe that's filled with exciting stories and possibilities, and we love exploring them. If you'd like to join us on this journey to a galaxy far, far away, then please like, share, and subscribe to our channel.